Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're about to get started. Yay, I'm so excited. Welcome to our Fearless Fridays IG Live series. Today we have two amazing guests. Just like every week, we've been bringing you some really good content. And I hope that everyone's been enjoying it and it's been uplifting your spirits during this time. I know it's been quite a difficult time for some of us, if not all of us. And we're just here to bring you some good content, to bring you some education, some resources, and just so we can have like a fun, productive happy hour on Fridays. I know that if everything was open right now, we would all be having happy hours. So I hope everyone has their glass of wine and we're about to unwind for a little while. My first guest, hey Carmisha. My first guest is Claudia Mendoza. She is the founder of Mamichula Social Club, and I'm so excited to have her. So let me see if I can get her in. Claudia, see if you can send me a request to get on so I can accept it. Thank you, Carmisha. I'm trying, girl. I'm trying. This is my happy hour. I worked out all week, so I'm like, all right, good. It's Friday. I'm going to have a glass of wine. I'm going to dress up. So we're here. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm waiting for Claudia to send me a request, and then we can get started. But I hope everyone's doing well during this time. It seems like the curve is shifting and things are getting slightly better, but we still have to continue to follow instructions and make sure you wear your mask when you're outside, make sure you wear your gloves, don't be around too many people, and just take care of yourself and be safe. Hold on one second, let me see if I can figure this out here. Oh, okay, let me see when you go live. All right, I don't see. Let's see. Give me 1 second. Let me just see if I can add. Okay, I don't. Okay, here it is. All right. Okay, I'm adding Claudia now.
Got it.
Ah!
Yay.
Oh, I just realized this is a little low. Hey, Mama.
How are you? I'm like, wow, this is close.
How are you?
So good. So good. I'm happy to be on my second live ever. Can you hear me? Well,
I can, yes.
okay. Hi, Sue. How do you look so perfect? How? Can we talk about it?
No, you look perfect. You look beautiful. Yes. We're more ready for this Friday night, aren't we?
I took my I only do my makeup once a week now. So I reserved it just for you, Sue, and I hope you like this light beat.
Same here, girl. I love the red lip. Loving it.
Thank you.
And I hope you have your red wine because we're going to get ready to talk about some good stuff. Yes. First and foremost, I just want to say, thank you so much for agreeing to do this live. Like, I've been meaning to connect with you for a little while now.
Yeah.
So I'm so proud and so happy to see my Latinas doing their thing. Like, we need that. That's super important. I love your movement. I love that the moms are involved too. I love all the great stuff that you're doing. Plus, you guys are like so super funny. I love it. It's just so great. Yes. It's a really great movement. I definitely have been trying to get my mom to come out with me to one of your events pretty soon. Hopefully, once everything opens up. So yeah,
aren't we all? Thank you. And I don't have red wine. I wanted some sun, so I made myself a very light drink.
I love
bring some sunshine. Cheers.
Yes, cheers.
I'm so excited to talk with you, and just have this conversation. This is my second live ever, like I told you, and I'm just super. I've never done a Mamichula live. I've never been live through the Mamichula page, so there goes Chula Karil. So I'm super excited to do this and to just get raw and honest and to just have a conversation. Yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. I feel honored. Yay!
No, I'm honored.
Yes. So let's get started. started.
Okay.
So thank you for everybody that's on the live now. We really appreciate you. We're
Thank you.
gonna have a good time tonight. So let's get started and let's talk a little bit about your background, where
Yeah.
you come from, and then how that led you to start Mamichulas.
Yeah. So I was thinking a lot about this today. And especially like with this pandemic, right? I think that one of the biggest things that I believe in is it's so cliche, right? It's like everything happens for a reason.
Right.
And I think that your whole movement about centering this conversation around being fearless and what fear means, right? And one of my favorite quotes ever is like, be afraid, but do it anyway, right?
Yeah.
And I absolutely live by that. But today I was thinking about that as I was thinking about like the journey of Mami Chula and how I got to this point and like the inspiration for it. And I was just thinking about how there like how the faith that you have to know that everything in your life happens for a reason and to get you to a certain point, right? And even this pandemic that we're going through and all these changes, and I know so many people who are losing their jobs and we're all experiencing this for the first time. But I think that a lot of us need to know and trust that we have a lot more control over the outcome and how we come out of this pandemic and what we do right now that's going to influence um, whatever outcome we have, let's say 10 months from now.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole idea about fearlessness really kicked in, I think, for me in high school. So when I was in high school, I got a full ride scholarship to DePaul University, and I was super hyped because I was like, oh my God, I'm the first person in my family to go to college and to get a full ride. That's incredible. But the one thing was that I did not want to go to school in Acampo in Indiana. That was 14 hours away. And I was like, hell no, I'm not going there. But and this leads into like the whole backstory and all that stuff. But the only things that I had seen about school and the only examples of like people who were successful that I had seen were people who left their cities and like went away to college and had that whole going away experience. And so when I was in high school, I didn't apply to any schools in the city. I only applied to schools that were like
Okay.
in other states and things like that. And I thought that that was how I was going to be like, all right, like, I'm going to be a lawyer and I'm going to like be super successful, but I have to leave because like there's no opportunities here for me in the hood or whatever.
Yeah. And be
So,
independent. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I have to be independent and all this stuff. But then I turned down that scholarship and it was one of the scariest things that I ever did, but I was like, no, like something doesn't feel right about going to this school and I have to trust my intuition and just kind of go with it. So here I am, December of like senior year, and everyone's getting their acceptance letters and stuff. And I am still like, I had denied the only school that had accepted me with a full ride, and I didn't know where the hell I was going. So the only schools who had rolling admission at the time were like two SUNYs, and I ended up applying to them. I didn't go there. I didn't visit any of these cities, and I had never heard of a city called Oneonta, but here the hell I was going to Oneonta. And they accepted me. And I was like, all right, so I guess I'm going there. Because I just didn't want to stay in the city. I thought that
Yeah.
me going away was how I was going to be successful and like
Mm-hmm.
that was the image of success. So then I ended up going there and I hated it. Um, it was the first time. I think that here in the city, a lot of us are sheltered or in a bubble. Like we understand racism, but I don't think that you understand racism until you leave this city. It hits different. And it was the first time that anybody ever called me a nigger. And I'm like,
Wow.
damn, they called it like these guys were driving in a car and they were like, "Get off the street, nigger." And I'm like, yo, I'm in Oneonta right now, and I'm a woman. I'm walking by myself, and this is the situation that we're living with. And I knew I had to get the hell out of there. But and I had nobody, like no one in my family knew of anything about college. But here I was like, well, I'm the first one. I have to make it, and I can't go back because then I'm gonna fail. Like, I'll be a failure to my family, I'll be a failure to my little sister, and to all these people who I've told. This was in Oneonta, so this was in upstate New York, and whatever. But I just hated the entire experience, and I was like, I'm not inspired here. I hate it here. Here I turned down the only full ride scholarship that I had, and then here I am in another place that I absolutely hated, but I just didn't feel represented. I didn't feel like there was a community there. I didn't feel inspired at all. And it was really, really hard. So 3 semesters in, I decided to transfer. And I was like, damn, yo, I am going to go back to the city, and I am like, I'm going to look like a failure. But then I was like, no, like, I'm just going to finish, and I'm going to do what I do. And I had to humble myself, and I applied to John Jay. Mind you, when I was in high school, no había nadie que me hablaba de John Jay. It was like, you saying John Jay or saying a CUNY was because we have these ideas about academia and success, right? And it's like, no, you can't go to a local school. You can't go to a community school, because if you go to a community school, then that means that you're not smart or you're not capable. And so I had all these ideas when I was in high school. But then here I am 3 semesters into college, humbling myself, or so I thought, and applying to CUNYs. So I got into John Jay, and I was like, you know what, fuck it. I'm just going to finish. I'm going to go, and we're just going to make the best of it.
Yeah.
Little did I know. And
So
this
what
is why.
can I ask you real quick? What were you studying? What was your major?
So, so since I'm so extra, Sue, and since I'm an activist, like by heart, like I've always had a passion for community and activism. I majored in political science, but since I'm very extra, I also majored in fashion. So I swore I was the legally brunette, and I was like, you know what? Nobody's gonna put me in a box. I am gonna like be a lawyer, a fashionable lawyer, or whatever the hell. And I transferred after 3 semesters. So then I ended up going to John Jay, and it was the best thing I could have ever done. So there, I was a political science major. And then my political science professors, every single class, I swear, I wanted to kill myself. I wanted to kill them. They were so boring. But then, and I was like, Diablo, here I go again. This school experience is terrible. I'm a learner, but I feel like nothing is working. But then I took a Latin American studies class, and that changed everything for me. Because I feel like I never learned our history or history from our perspective. And me having a professor that was he's one of my biggest mentors. His name is Luis Barrios, and he would curse in class. He looked like me, first of all. He spoke Spanglish in class. He was hood as hell, and he had a PhD. I was like, and he was also a pastor. I was like, this is the wildest mix I've ever seen, but okay, I feel home. I feel inspired. Cool. So I ended up like it was the first year that they made the Latin American Studies major. And I was the first person to graduate with that major from John Jay. And I fell in love with it. And I became just learning about my history and learning about the struggles that our people went through, and seeing history from that perspective completely shifted me and my worldview and empowered me in a way that I was just like, holy shit, our community is so powerful. There's so much history here. We're not being taught these things. Somebody needs to do this. But I think that what happens to a lot of us when we learn about these things, we get very angry, and we don't know any other way to express these things but through anger, and we get upset at our family members for not knowing anything, for not knowing any better. My mom is very, very dark skinned, and I would be and I would have arguments with her every single day about her being a Black woman. She didn't want to accept that, and she didn't, and we would have conversations about race every single day. um but me being in this major, it just completely shifted my life, and my perspective, and I became super, super active in my community, and like I started doing tenant organizing, and like, I was just like, everything happens for a reason. See, I turned down that scholarship. um is Latin American history vaguely different from Black history? Very different. I think they intertwine. I'm just answering a question. Obviously,
Yeah.
they cross paths, but Latin American history, there's so much. Like, my biggest focus was on Haiti and the Dominican Republic
Mm-hmm.
and Puerto Rico. Um, but obviously, Black history is just like
Yeah.
the grandmother umbrella of it all.
Yes.
Eh,
And
pero
I was gonna say that I'm glad you brought that up, like with your mom and everything, because I tell people all the time, like, there's so much racism that goes on in our countries, like in
yeah,
Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic. It's so
for
much
sure.
colorism that goes on, and
Hmm.
a lot of people don't talk about it, but we go through our own share of neglect because of our skin tone, because they
Yeah.
say we're more lighter skin and things like that. Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. And I think my biggest focus at the time, like what I studied was, and I was always fascinated by women. But wait, because this is actually important. So in John Jay, in the school that I was shitting on, I met the second semester that I was there, this new professor came into the school, and she was like an adjunct professor. But at that point, I was like super woke, and I was just like, Black Power, Black Panthers, Young Lords, like, we're gonna talk about it. And if you're not gonna talk about it, professor, you're not shit, and all this stuff. Like, I was woke at that point. So this professor comes in, and she gives us a sheet, and she's like, if I could bring anybody to this classroom, who would you want me to bring? And me being in a super radical moment, I was like, all right, so I want you to bring a young lord, and this is why, like, whatever. And then so then she saw that, and I was the only student who knew about that and like wrote that answer. Most people said J-Lo and like whatever. And we were supposed to like name famous Latinos or historic Latinos or whatever. And a lot of people couldn't. And she was so surprised by the fact that I mentioned a young lord that she invited me to meet Sonia Sotomayor. And
Mm.
I was like,
Wow.
sis, who's you?
Right.
Why? So she like this professor of mine, turned out she was the editor-in-chief of El Diario for 30 years.
Wow.
And she took me under her wing. And here I met her at John Jay. And that's why it's so important to have faith and to know that, hey Rashida, to know that it's your to have faith that you're on the path that you need to be on.
Yeah.
And you might not understand what it is that's happening, and things might be scary and really confusing, but take control of an aspect of that situation and like own it and be fearless, like you say. But entonces, it's gonna lead into mamichula in a second.
Yes.
So yeah, so then this professor, I don't know where I left off, but this professor, then she like introduced me to so much. Her name is Rosana Rosado, and she's a mentor of mine. She's an incredible woman. And she took me under her wing, and she showed me what mentorship was. I think that um, for us, especially in our community, we don't have access to mentors, especially mentors who are active, who don't just talk the talk and tell you, yeah, yeah, just send me an email, but like take you under their wing and give you opportunities and open doors for you. And I think that me experiencing that changed the game for me.
Yeah.
So, but she also grilled me, and she would tell me like, how important it is to come prepared. If you have a mentor, how important it is for you to come prepared for that mentor. Like, not just
Yes.
expecting that this person is
Mm-hmm.
gonna, like, you know,
Yeah.
give you all these things and all these tools, but like you have to be hungry for it and you have to be active. But
Mm-hmm.
so then I graduated. Like 2 years, 2.5, 3 years later, I graduated. I was the first graduate of the Latin American Studies department with that major. And that same year, that same professor became the Secretary of State of New York.
Wow.
And
Talk
when
about alignment.
she was
Like,
appointed to
that's
that,
crazy.
when she was appointed to that position by the governor, because of the work that I did and the involvement that I had in my community and how real that passion was, and like all the work that I put in and showed her and like checked in and all those things, I was the first person she hired
Wow.
to be on her team. So I was her special assistant. um Hey Betty. So I was so she hired me to be her special assistant, and I knew nothing about government, like nothing, absolutely nothing. But just but I think that for her it was more about giving another Latina or another woman an opportunity, even if
Yeah.
this person is completely new. It's like, no, I trust you, come on, let's do this.
Mm-hmm.
um
I mean, you have
and
to give yourself credit too, because you were doing the work, girl.
that's
Yes.
right.
And she saw, she saw that in you. She saw that
Yeah,
spark in you. Yeah.
totally. And then another incredible thing, which was one of the main inspirations for Mamichula and one of the main seeds for Mamichula, was, so she was the editor-in-chief of El Diario for 30 years. And in those 30 years, she was the first woman at that. So you can only imagine what a newsroom would be like 30 years ago. It was a complete boys' club. So she showed me that women, especially Latina women, had to band together, who were for the most part Puerto Rican women at that time, and they kind of created this like super secret society of like Latinas helping each other.
Okay.
And it was them, like, and she would bring me around to these meetings, and it was like a legit thing. I don't know how I'm supposed to talk about this, but we don't talk about it.
We won't tell nobody.
We don't, but it's not anything bad.
Yeah.
But it's legitimately a network of Latina women in power who support each other, and they meet, they care about their families, and it's more of a like a sisterhood type of thing. But in that same sisterhood, you have Sonia Sotomayor, you have the Secretary of State, so it's like the boss ass
Yes.
sisterhood of sisterhoods. um but then I saw that that wasn't being reflected on a smaller scale in our community, because I am, I still have this like super spirit for like activism. And like my paper, like my ¿cómo se llama? My thesis in
Yeah.
college was about Haitian women in the Dominican Republic and what happened to them when they were denationalized. And so and then I studied abroad in Ecuador and did research on like women who were in gangs and all that stuff. So I had this like affinity for women and community and like the struggle for women and what sisterhood and solidarity meant for women specifically, and what that looked like.
I love that.
So then, thank you. So then, so then I saw in my boss, like, well, she was my boss, um, how this network of women, what this network of women meant for her, and how they were able to support one another. And it wasn't like, I don't gotta see you. It's not about the likes on Instagram. It's not about it's like real legit shit. If there's an opportunity, I'm gonna put you on and I'm gonna tell you about it. And
Right.
I'm always going to have like, let's look out for one another.
Yes.
Let's have this. And I saw that we didn't have that in our community. And then when I was in the state, I would go to a bunch of like women leadership conferences, and like women leadership conferences and like meetups and all these things. But what I saw was that like I never felt comfortable. Like
Okay.
I never felt like those communities or those spaces were talking to me, and I always felt like I had to be or present in a way that wasn't authentically me. And I was like, why do I have to present in this way to be empowered or to
So let me ask you this. Is it because there wasn't a lot of Latinas like us in the room, or?
Yeah, I specifically went, like, I remember going to specific Latina specific like meetups and groups and things like that. And but it was more for professional women. And I was like, there's something missing here. There's an element, and it's great, right? Like we need that. Those spaces where we need those spaces where women, professional women, are given those tools and have the opportunity to network. But there's so many more parts of us that aren't being expressed, aren't being, like, whenever I went to those things, I always felt super uncomfortable, and people would give me their business cards and I would like email, but it never felt like, damn, y'all, like this, I'm walking away with something great, and like I'm being held right now and I'm seen and all these things. It never felt like that.
It
So
didn't feel you.
it didn't feel me. It didn't feel, I saw the need for that in our community, and I saw the need for that type of space, especially for women, right? Like we benefit from those things. But I didn't think that they were addressing like women as a whole, right? And especially women who looked like me. So then that was one big part and like one big inspiration for Mamichula. But then I have an incredible group of girlfriends who literally saved my life. When I came back from New York, from Oneonta, I met these women, and it was like a big ass group of girls who are brilliant, brilliant, loving women. And one of the biggest things that we all had in common was that we were all raised by single mothers. Like all of us were raised by single mothers, and a lot of our moms were alone and didn't have friends and didn't like. And I don't know if you were raised like me. Yes, that's you, Cookie. Duh. And I don't know if you were raised like me, Sue, but my mom raised me with this mentality of like, yo, don't trust other women. Like, don't, like, you don't have friends, like, you don't have this, you don't have that. But like, to me, my friend group meant so much for me, especially when going through like these big life changes. Like, even though I had just met these women like in a blink ago, like these women held me in such a way that I was just like, I love these girls.
And that was because they were dealing with their past trauma, like becoming single moms and things like that. Like, I remember my mom telling me all the time, like, no confía en nadie. No confía en nadie. Nadie está para ti.
Exactly. And even we were
like,
reading,
okay, mom.
Exactly. And we were reading Dominicana. We were reading Dominicana, and literally in this book, one of the lines is like the mom telling the girl, her daughter, not to trust women. Like, don't trust women. And I was just like, damn, yo, I don't believe in that. Right. I don't. I think that I know that there's so much power when we're together. And I think that there's a way to approach this where we can feel empowered together and not have to destroy one another and all these things. So my friends and I, we put together for like Mother's Day, we put together a dinner because we wanted to celebrate our moms and we wanted them to meet each other. Because we're like, you have a single mom, I have a single mom. We're best friends, so our moms have to be best friends. Let's just get them together and let's get them drunk. And you know, our moms were freaking weird and uncomfortable at first, and like, you know, like they don't know how to act. But and it's weird, but it was something really beautiful to see these women just getting together and being together and sharing space with us. You remember that, Cookie? That was so cute. And then after that, like some of the moms would meet up randomly or like go to like a little, like we went to happy hour. I think, Cookie, we went with Amarilis to the movies, but it was so nice to see our, like, even if it didn't last forever, but just to include our moms in this conversation about us having social lives as well, and them
Yeah.
having social lives and including them in that healing. Because I don't know, I've just always been driven by this idea that the Brujas of Brooklyn talk about. Do you know about the Brujas of Brooklyn? They're
I've
brilliant. But one of them Miguelina says that if it's not one thing, it's your mother. And a lot of us have these issues with our moms, and I think that it comes from a lot of that trauma. And if we don't heal and address
yeah.
those things together, we're not gonna move anywhere. And that's a
Yeah.
light subject
And
for all of us.
it's so important to have your sisterhood. Like, I'm so
Yes.
happy that you found that. Like, having your friends is super important. I know for me it's been important too. Like, I've been through my own trauma in my
Mm-hmm.
life, you know. Unfortunately, like, I became a single mom as well, even though their dad is a little more in the picture than my dad was. But you know, just having my tribe that I can like release with and, you know, unwind from all the
Right.
stresses, like, that's super important. And people who support you, like, I'm so
Right.
happy you found that.
Yes,
Yeah.
totally. Because I feel like up until then, I hadn't met Dominican women or women who looked like me who were into holistic healing. Like I have a friend who loves healing. I have a friend who Stephanie who's on here. She dances and travels the
Yes,
world, but she's
Stephanie.
dynamic and all these things and like does everything under the sun, but like who had so many skills and so many talents and gifts and
Yeah.
just literally just wanted to love each other. I'm
Yeah.
like, it's us. So then I started putting together, I'm super into themes and events. So I started putting together a kickball game because I wanted women to get active and to get competitive. And I was the best, like kickball was the only sport I was good at. So I was like, you know what, girls, let's just play kickball. So then one year I put together this kickball game and it was a freaking blast. And then I did it again the following year and it grew from there. And there were more women and I invited other women who I just met that year. And it was just such a beautiful bond. And it was kind of like a breath of fresh air. Like, damn, yo, why don't we have this in our community? Like, why
Yeah.
don't we have these spaces for us to get together, for us to meet other women who
It's so
are
true.
in that game.
Yeah.
We had like two PhD women, we had like a scientist, we had girls who were bartender, like all these different types of women, but nobody was connecting us and like building that bridge, and
Yeah.
in like a way that is
And
not
you know,
about
I want to,
facades.
yeah, and I want to say, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I want
Yeah,
to say that's why I think it's so important what you've
yeah,
done with Mami Chula, because I know for me, and like me and my comadre talk about this all the time. She's on here actually. Hi, Mensa. So we talk about this all the time because we're Latinas, you know, and we're
mm-hmm.
very open people. So we've had a lot of great support from African American women, you know,
Right,
from women from all over. And then
right.
we always talk about like our Latina community. Like we need
Mm-hmm.
to reinforce it more. Like
Mm-hmm.
necesitamos más mujeres juntas,
Yeah,
necesitamos, you know, support each other and stuff like that. So that's why I wanted to have you on because I'm like, I
thank
love
you,
this. This
thank
is what
you.
everybody's looking for. And you know, I grew up in Washington Heights. So I'm
And
like, where was she back then?
girl, I feel like that's what I said, and that's why I had to make it, because I'm like, because when I was in high school, in the New York Times article, they said that I used to go there with my dad, but I actually used to go there with my mom for like family parties, and it was this place called El Club Deportivo, and it was a social club. But then when I went in there and I realized, and I would like look around while I was like getting my pernil or like my rice and whatever the hell, and I would see these like frames of men on the wall, and I'm like, who are these guys? And they were like the presidents of the social club, and I was like, yo, why don't women have like a social club, and
Yeah.
why don't we? Yeah, that is Stephanie's second home. She's always dancing there. But like, why aren't there women who have this space? And like, those social clubs meant so much for our community. Like in those social clubs, I learned and I did research. That's how a lot of these bodegueros got their start.
Mm,
So they would put their money together, and it would be like, all right, it would be like a
yeah.
loan type of system, or like, ¿cómo que se llama? that circle thing that was going around the other day where you put your money and whatever it grows, but a
Oh,
sociedad.
yes, yes.
So they would have those things, but
Like a
social
pyramid scheme
clubs,
or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, social clubs were such a big part of our community and the growth and
Yes.
development of our community, but there weren't women's social clubs in our community,
Mm-hmm.
and women were like kept out of there. Like most of those social clubs turned into sports clubs because all they would start to do was start betting and like on
Mm-hmm.
sports and all that stuff. And but then I'm like, yo, we're in 2018. What would a women's social club look like? And then I went to the wing, and I was just like, this is cute. This looks super Instagrammable. Loves it. Thanks for the perfume and the hand lotion. But why don't we have this in our community, and what would that look like for us, and what do we need?
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Clara. Look, Clara's one of the moms. Hi, Clara.
Hi, Clara.
um so like, to me, it was super cool, the idea and the concept of having a social club for Latina women. Like, I thought that that was like super
Yo, that's like that. I know the Deportivo is still open now, but like when
yeah,
I think about it, that's like a throwback for me.
super
Like I
throwback.
remember we used to go young to the Deportivo when they used to throw their parties. Like,
Yeah, those
ya que vamos
parties.
al Deportivo.
Yeah, but like, what's
Yeah,
crazy
I
is that we
think what.
don't think about the power and the cultural
Yes.
significance of those social clubs and
Mm-hmm.
what they meant for our communities. Like,
Yeah.
they shifted so much and they allowed for so much growth in our community to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
What?
So let's talk about mamichulas. What's going
Yeah,
on? When was inception?
yeah.
What have you guys been working on?
So there's so much going on, especially with this pandemic. I feel like um, and I'm trying to like shift. Actually, the first event, like the first official Mami Chula event. Well, there was Mami Chula kickball prior to that, but the first Mami Chula event was actually in honor of moms, and it came from that idea, from that dinner, the dinners that like the dinner that we did for our moms.
Mm-hmm.
um I was like, yo, I want to get all my friends and I want to be extra as hell. I
Yeah.
want to have a tea party in the oldest mansion in New York City, because why can't a brown girl, Dominican girl from the hood, dream about that? Because I live right next to Morris Jamel Mansion, and I grew up like going around there, but never. I was like, kid yourself. Like, why is there a mansion like
Right.
2 blocks away from me? Um, so I was like, yo, I want to have a party there. I want to have a garden party there. And about being fearless, actually. So wait, it goes back. So I decided when I was with Rosana at the Department of State, at some point I was just like, this is great and all, and I'm doing like great work, or whatever, but it just wasn't me. And I knew that I had to take a leap. And what I loved about her was that she was like, go. Whenever you feel ready to go, go. And that summer, I saved up a bunch of money before I quit. Like, I had like an exit plan. I
Mm-hmm.
saved up money and I quit my job. I was like, all right, I have an idea for what it is that I want to do. I don't know if it's gonna work. I'm scared as hell, but here we go. I have nothing else to lose. I'm not married. I don't have any kids. If I'm gonna take a risk, I'm gonna take this now. And I think that that's where the importance of being fearless is, and being afraid and doing things anyway. It's like, if your gut is telling you to do something and you're driven by something, go on and do it. I actually met Dina, who's actually commenting on here, when I was gonna quit my job to do this. And I told her, I was like, yo, I'm gonna quit my job at the Department of State with the Secretary of State. It's kind of a good gig, right? Like, from here, I can only grow. Like, but I'm just gonna put this all on the line, and we're gonna do something crazy here, because I am like 20. What I was like, what, 25 at the time. I was like, you know what, fuck it. Like, I don't have kids. Like, let's just do this.
Yeah.
And And so I quit my job and I was like, yo, I want to do the most extra shit I've ever done in my life, and I'm gonna throw this party in this mansion, and it's gonna be in honor of our moms because they deserve to be treated like queens.
That's
And
right.
we need to know that we have access to this space. And I just walked into the mansion and I was like, I have this idea for, hello, Mr. Manager, I have an idea for an event for our community. It'll be celebrating women and bringing us together. He had no idea how extra this was gonna be. He didn't know what the hell he had coming. He was like, oh, sure, we have a fee, but you seem nice. You seem nice. And this sounds like a great idea. You can't, there are a lot of limitations, but go ahead. And I was like, cha-ching, he doesn't know how extra I am, and I'm about to do this up. And I already have the idea, and I have the perfect name. It's gonna be the Mamichula Social Club, and it's gonna be for us and our moms, and we're just gonna love each other and become best friends and all these things.
I love it.
So I quit my job in July, and the garden party was in September, and I was going on a bunch of vacations, but literally put this together in like 2 months, and I had 50 moms and daughters there, and
Wow.
we all dressed up. I called my friend who's a celebrity chef. I literally called all of my friends. I was like, who are my most extra resources?
Mm-hmm. Oh no, I hope we don't lose her. I hope we don't lose her. Oh, I think I lost her. Okay, let me bring her back in. Sorry, guys. Oh, the story's getting so juicy and it's so amazing. All right, let me see. Um, okay, I'm adding Claudia back in. Hey, Arthur. Hi, everyone.
I'm sorry, my
Okay.
phone died.
I'm like, no, it's
My
so
phone
good.
died. So I ran to my sister. I was like, Rachel, I need your phone. And it was getting good. So like I was saying, I went to like my most extra friends. I know a harp player. I knew a celebrity chef. I knew someone who sang. And I was just like, we're going to have a harp player in our garden party. We're going to wear popping ass outfits and dresses. We're going to have, my friend Kim, she owns a photo booth. I reached out to her, Flux Photo Booth Company. It's the best photo booth company ever. I reached out to Chef Calvin, and he was just like, girl, all right, do they even have a kitchen? Like, what do you want me to do?
Right.
And then my girlfriend, Denise, who's an incredible pastry chef, she's not a chef yet, but she's a chef in my book. And I was like, girl, come on, let's do this. Let's have like the little sandwiches, but let's make it our own. And I went around like mad different cities and all these things looking for teacups. Oh, Arlene. So I wanted to make personalized teacups for everybody who came. So literally, like, I went around with my ex-boyfriend at the time looking for like teacups that I could engrave in every single thrift shop imaginable. Yo me lo conozco todo. But I was like, no, this has to be beautiful. It has to be perfect.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful. It was like a team effort, and we pulled it off, and it was super extra. And that was kind of like the first successful thing. And I was like, all right, yeah, it worked. And people loved it. And at the time, I had a partner, and like it was super great. But I was just like, this shit works, and I trust my gut, And the things that I imagine, I can work and make happen, right?
Yeah.
And I have to continue to push this envelope and dream big. um because no one ever told us that we had access to that space, but I was just like, no, we deserve this
Exactly.
access to this space, and why not? And we deserve to have garden parties, and we deserve to have heart players and great food and
Yeah.
all these things. And the moms absolutely loved it, and we were super extra. And then ever since then, every single event, my number one mission with every single event is that people have to walk away learning something. You have to walk away knowing other people, but like the number one thing is that you have to walk away knowing something that you didn't know before.
Yeah.
So, or celebrating something that is our culture and our own. And oh yeah, we had a Dominican folklore dance group.
I
They
love
were so
that.
cute. Cause we had to make it our own. We're like, yo, we're gonna be so
Of
extra. We're gonna have
course.
a folklore dance group with the skirts and everything. And
That's amazing.
so, like, usually it's like things that push the envelope, or
Yeah.
if they ever told us that we couldn't do it, that's like my number one driving force. You tell me I can't do something, now I'm gonna do it. So you
Exactly.
told me that we women can't smoke cigars. Now we're gonna learn how to smoke cigars, and we're gonna be boss ass bitches. We'll do
Yeah.
that. Thank you, Eury from Creative Film Society, for your help with that and connecting us. And it's always like things always connect and like come back. Ah, I love mamichula social club so much.
Yes.
It's my
Oh
baby.
my God. And somebody just commented and said, I met my bestie so soon because
Yes,
of the Mami
whole
Chula Social Club.
businesses have come
I
from
love that.
mamichula, and
I
it's
love
like
that.
it's it's
Yes.
it's incredible, and I can't wait for it
Oh
to
my
grow more.
God. It's all about the sisterhood. It's all
Yeah.
about bringing our Latin culture to the forefront also. It's all about sharing these special moments together and especially involving our moms and our parents and things like that.
Yes.
So, oh my God, so exciting. I cannot wait to go to an
Thank
event.
you.
Like we need to
Thank
open up a
you.
group so I
Yes.
can be there.
Yes, I know.
Oh my
So like
God.
what we're doing now, so I've been doing a lot of things like obviously online, and Stephanie teaches salsa class every week. But
Yes.
next week we're gonna have a really big focus on and what's beautiful is that there are so many incredible entrepreneurs within Mami Chula. So now I'm like, girl, come here. Let's do this.
Yes.
You gonna take leadership of this. You gonna do this. Come on. Can you take ownership of this part of
Yes.
it and like teach us and like let's support you.
I love
And whatever like and what it is about Mami Chula that I like, and it was like literally like the spirit that you breathe into something. It's like I did not learn more or less from any of the other women empowerment events that I used to go to when I was in the state,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I always felt like it was just uncomfortable. Like, I don't know if you have that experience too, because I'm sure you go to a lot of these, like, and it always feels fake. It always
Yeah.
feels like you have to be someone who you're
Yeah.
not and forced. It always feels like you're neglecting or denying a part of yourself because that
Yeah.
part of yourself isn't worthy. The number
Yeah.
one thing about Mami Chula is, no, bitch, you smart. You are
Right.
talented, you're
Mm-hmm.
gifted, you're loved
Yeah.
here. If you have negativity, if you don't get it, if you think this is
Mm-hmm.
just a photo op, no, like that's not happening.
Exactly.
You're gonna be loved here. You're gonna love everybody who is around you.
Yes.
Um,
And so many people complain about that. And that's definitely one thing that I took notice of a long time ago. And, also with our movement, we definitely want to be not that space. We want to
right.
be that sisterhood space, that safe space where everybody loves on each other, just like you. Like,
Yeah.
we're utilizing everyone who's a part of the organization, what your talents are, like just so many, just so many
I
things. Like,
love
it's so
it.
funny because I met Stephanie. I met her at Jimmy's, which I
What
every time
doesn't
I
Stephanie do though? Steph, this
listen,
is a shout out to
she
you.
does everything.
She speaks like 500 languages.
Yes,
Travels
but
the
like quick,
world.
but quick story.
Yeah.
I every time I saw her at Jimmy's, she was like this ball of love, just
I
like,
know.
oh my God, hey girl, like. And then we were just
How long are
relaunching.
Stephanie's conversations? Stephanie could carry a conversation with a wall.
Yes.
She could talk to a wall and have the best time with that wall. And
Yes, she is such a
love
sweetheart.
you.
Listen, long story short, we were doing a rebranding and a relaunch, and I was like, "Girl, come and do the makeup for us." And she came and she did all of our makeup, and her energy was amazing, and she
Yeah.
fit right in, and it was just so
Uh-huh.
lovely. Yeah,
Yes.
so
Yes.
definitely. But I don't want us to lose time before we
Yeah.
get into some juicy stuff before we get off.
Okay, girl.
But I do want everyone to definitely, if you're not already, follow the mamichulas. They're amazing.
Yes.
Be a part of the community. Like, they're doing so many great things. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the vagina monologues.
Oh.
And so tell us a little bit about that, and then I have a few questions afterwards.
Yes. So the Vagina Monologues was incredible. I actually saw the Vagina Monologues when I was in Oneonta for the first time. Do it. Like, everything happens for a reason. And I was like, yo, I wanna put on the Vagina Monologues one day. Like, this is so dope. But talking about being on your path and truly like trusting it and kind of being fearless in that pursuit, um when one of the things that I wrote down was I want to put on the Vagina Monologues, whatever. At some point in Mami Chula history, I want to put it on, whatever. Like, it would be so dope. And funny enough, one of my friends, who I met online, actually, she is a director. And she has put on, like, I don't know how many freaking plays. Like, she's put on the Vagina Monologues like 20 times or 15 times. Oh yeah, this time was the 15th time she put it on. And she
Wow.
slides into my DMs one day and she's like, Claudia, I want you to put on the Vagina Monologues. I want to talk to you about putting on the Vagina Monologues. What do you think? I'm like, vaginas, I'm in. Like,
Yes.
yes, of course, this is exactly what I want to do. And then but since I always come with this idea and perspective of making things intergenerational and like super mixed, I'm like, all right, but like we have to have older women and it has to be bilingual because our community needs this conversation about violence against women, and we need to talk about older women need to know that it's okay for you to talk about your vagina. It's okay for you to love your vagina and to discover your vagina at an older age. It's okay. Let's have this conversation. But if our community sees these diverse women having this conversation, then, all right, maybe I could have it. Um, maybe I could talk about my juicy vagina at like, or one of the most incredible, one of my favorite stories from our rehearsals. And what's crazy is that we put on the Vagina Monologues literally in 2 months, because I'm always like, if I have an idea, I have to do it and I have to get it out, and it just
Yeah.
happens in a very short amount of time. And I'm blessed.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful that I'm able to do that, and that always things align. But like I said, when you're on your path, things, you have to have faith.
Absolutely.
So entonces, one of my favorite stories from the Vagina Monologues was one of the actresses. Her name is Aide Rosario, and she is, I believe, 60, maybe 65. She's in her mid to late 60s. And she told me she's a mother of 5. And during our auditions, she told us that her first orgasm was at 41.
Wow.
And we were like, girl, what? Like,
Right. Wow.
what? And then she told us how, since she had an orgasm, she hasn't stopped having sex, and how juicy her vagina is, and how much she loves it, and she calls it her diamond. And we're like, yes, queen, that is a diamond. But having her and women who, like, we had, I think the youngest person was maybe 17 or 18.
Okay.
And then Ivy, I think at 60 something, was the oldest.
Mm-hmm.
And just having that range of women talking about this was so important. And then on top of that, we were raising funds for an incredible organization. It's
Oh my
Latinas y Líderes, and they empower young and educate young girls in the Dominican Republic. So they have a leadership and empowerment camp where they
That's
teach
amazing.
these little girls from the hood in DR, eh, things that they need to know. First of all, they bring them to a college for a whole like week or something, and that I hadn't gone I hadn't seen a college at that age.
Right.
And these girls are 8. I believe the youngest it goes from 8 to like 11 years old, I want to say. And just exposing these poor girls to, not poor as in ay pobrecita, but like poverty,
Yeah.
poor
Probably.
girls, to these opportunities like education and higher education is such an important and empowering process. But then they also pair them with mentors who like follow them. And then the beautiful thing about this organization is that they stick to one cohort and they
Yeah.
follow them through college.
Wow. Wow.
And they're new, and they're ran by a mother and daughter, which also aligns with mamichula. And then in my mind, one of the biggest ways that you end violence against women is by empowering women through education. So Dominican Republic has the second highest rate of femicide in Latin America, and especially like in the Caribbean, like the highest rate in the Caribbean. And I think that one of the biggest ways that we can address that is by educating and empowering those girls through education. So we raised, in 3 days, we raised $20,000.
Wow.
That was 100% donated to that organization. Like the other day, it was such an empowering experience for me to write a check and sign it with like a huge like number. I was like, yo, that's in my bank account and I'm donating every single dollar of this. I'm a philanthropist. Hold up. Like, so it was just so beautiful and so empowering.
Yes, I love that. That's so amazing. Oh my gosh. So before we wrap up, because we only have a few minutes left, I hope everybody's been enjoying our conversation. Claudia, you're amazing. Thank you. So I do want to talk about this really quickly before they shut us off. We only have a few minutes, but I was listening on the radio to Coco Cabrera, yeah, you know he's crazy and he's always
crazy as hell.
So he brought up a really good discussion though, and he was like, what are women doing during this quarantine, because we can't go to the doctor and get checked up, right? So, ¿qué es lo que están haciendo las mujeres? ¿Cómo no estamos bañando la cuquita and stuff like that? And some women brought up like jabón de guava.
Vamos a hablar de eso. So I love talking about vaginas. I love it. I usually wear a vagina ring, but I lost it and I ordered it again. I have like a vulva shaped ring.
Okay.
I love it. I love talking about vaginas and I'm very into that. But
wait, so what does that do?
The ring?
Yeah.
No, so one of my friends is an artist and she makes ceramic vaginas.
Oh, okay.
So she made a ring. Her name is why am I blanking on her name? Her Instagram is Curex Tribe. I could put it there.
Okay.
Her jewelry is beautiful. Ani is her name.
Okay.
Yeah, Stephanie did it. Thanks, Cookie. So first of all, I was on this thing with we were on like a sex workshop like 3 days ago with El Salon Chronicles, and they had
we have under 2 minutes.
Okay, anyway, mujeres, don't use jabón de guava. Because that throws off your pH. I feel very bad for pregnant women right now, and like I'm always thinking about pregnant women because I'm like, how are y'all doing this right now?
Right.
But like, no, what I use honestly is Dove.
Yeah.
Just like the plain old Dove that has no scent, no smell, nothing. It's good. And then also, if you follow the Brujas of Brooklyn, they're always talking about vaginal steams to like get out any of your toxic bad lovers from the past. But also I think you can, there's like different vaginal washes like that balance out your pH. One of my favorite ones is the honey pot.
Okay.
Honey pot.
So let's do this.
And they're black only.
Let's do this. I want you to share that with me, and then I'm going to share it with everyone, because I definitely want everyone to be clean and refreshed. And anything that's going to mess up your pH.
Lávense la popola.
Exactly. La cuquita, like my mom
La
used to say.
cuquita. There's so many words. There's so many
But
names.
listen, we have only about 40 seconds left. So I first want to say happy Mother's Day to all the moms that are on here.
Happy Mother's Day.
Yes. And thank you everybody for watching. Thank you, Claudia. You're amazing. In 20 seconds or less, let us know what makes you fearless.
What makes me fearless? The fact that I could be scared of shit, but I'm going to do it anyway because I already imagined it and my mind is already there. So I have no choice but to do it.
Yes. Thank you so much, Claudia. I can't wait to go out and dance some merengue or dance some salsa with Steph.
Me too.
I'm so
Salsa class
excited.
next Wednesday.
Yes.